Hey friends, when you're using Playwright for end-to-end testing or synthetic monitoring or checkly, there might be flows in your applications that are non-deterministic. Let's say you have a login flow that sometimes shows the recent and best offers that you're selling, and sometimes it just navigates to home. How could you test these flows when you're expecting different results? And this is what I'm going to show you in this video. Let's go! As always, I prepared a little demo application that you see here right in front of me. This is a quick website that asks me if I want to come in, and when I hit the enter button, sometimes it will tell me, hey, please try again. And when I then try again, sometimes it will show me, yep, you can come in now. So we have here an application flow that has two different results. How could we test this in Playwright? When I head over to my editor, I have a pretty basic Playwright test that already navigates to the URL in question. It locates the button, the enter button that we see here, then it clicks it, and then it expects and waits for this loading state to be visible. So how could we move on now? If you want to test these scenarios, you can leverage Playwright's locator.or method. And it's a little bit buried in the docs because it's next to blur, all inner text and all these things, but or allows you to create locators that match multiple locators. So with a combined locator using OR, you can wait for multiple different elements to be visible. Let's put this into practice. When we head over to my editor, let's check if this actually works and start Playwright's UI mode. So we can control our Playwright tests here from the UI mode, and here we have it. And when we now turn on watch mode, because we want to develop this test case, and press play, we see what's happening in our Playwright test case. And as expected, we're navigating here to the URL, we're locating the button, and we're waiting for this loading state to be visible. So how could we now put locator.or into practice? When we go here, we know that after this loading to be visible, we have to state that the loading indicator is there. Now we have to define what other locators we expect to be visible in the future. So what we can do is we can define a headline that will be the "you're in" message, and I will locate it by calling page get by role to have a nice semantically correct selector, and I will look for a heading that doesn't have this name but rather have the level 2 because I know that it's a 2. And then we will also locate the paragraph that will be the message telling me that we are not in. So we can go in here now, we can now say paragraph. And with this, we now have our two elements that we expect to show up eventually. And all we now have to do is we have to combine these two. So we can define the next step here, and we can say that the next step is either the headline locator or the paragraph locator. And with this, now we created a combined locator that includes our potentially showing up headline or our potentially showing up paragraph. We can now combine this with a web-first assertion by calling wait, expect. Now we have the next step locator that is a combined locator, and we expect this to be visible eventually. When we now head over to the Playwright UI, we already find a succeeding test case because this test case is very quick. But most importantly, here we have our last assertion. And it was waiting for either this heading or this paragraph to show up. And now you find in the UI log that this locator resolved to this paragraph. So when we now run this test case again, maybe we now hit the heading and it will show us that here we go, we resolved this locator to an H2. So this gives us maximum flexibility for our non-deterministic application flow here. And now it's up to us to define what should happen next. We now know that at this stage that either the headline or the paragraph are visible. So we can now check if it was the headline that was visible and check it for the text you are in. And otherwise, we could also check if it was the paragraph that was visible and check for the text try again. So with the combination of locator.or, the web-first assertion to be visible that checks for multiple locators, and then checking which element actually became visible, we are now able to cover and test multiple application flows. So when we head over to the Playwright UI and we run it a final time, we now see that it's loading, it is showing the URL in, and here we have this assertion for the heading. And when we inspect if this actually works, we see that it is matching, URL is fine. And now we can handle the paragraph showing up and the headline showing up and whatever comes next. If we wanted to, we could extend the test case too. But in general, testing these non-deterministic flows is always very challenging. I will link another video right above showing you how you can use try-catch, for example, to deal with cookie banners that show up at random times. And this was the Playwright tip for today. If you have any comments or questions, drop them below. And if you want to join the Checkly community Slack, we are a lovely bunch. And I will talk to you very, very soon again, showing you the next Playwright tip.